I think I would love to hear how you first came up with the idea. I mean, starting from the storyboard specifically. I know that you did a lot of work with the character designs, but I'm very, very fascinated to know how, what was your thought process like?
So basically, let me just give like a preamble here, what the story was about. So typical stop and search that goes in a very unexpected direction. Like our young men, our flashy young guys, stopped by police officers and they don't do what you would expect them to do in that situation. They take these cops on this long car chase. So the car chase thing was like I had to go and look for a bunch of car chase movies. I saw a bunch of car chase sequences on YouTube, and that's where I basically tried to start the. That's how I started doing the storyboard. So bit by bit, I was just collecting those like I collected maybe like a million screenshots. I don't know. To draw every single one, try to plan out the sequence. The main movie that gave me that sequence, like there was a main movie that I followed. The main movies that I followed were those 4 movies: Bullet, The Driver, Drive, and Baby Driver. In fact, the last sequence, you remember that last sequence where he does like a drift thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the car. That's pulled from a part of it is most of it's pulled from Baby Driver. That movie has some of the best car chase sequences ever.
I think a lot of the references you're able to create and the concept, really gave me a very, very vivid picture of what we needed to create. I remember we had a conversation about some other ideas I had, in terms of my own like experience with certain films I've seen. Like remember Into the Spider-Verse. I know we spoke about a couple of films that had like a 2D feel, even though we are going to be fusing 3D elements. And so that was how I myself was able to come up with a couple of things that we saw at the end of the execution, right? Thanks to you. I mean, like I said, it's more your work was what inspired it. And actually after we released it, I got a lot of questions, a lot of people who were very interested in how I was able to come up with that. I got a lot of people really, really loved the idea, right? Till date, a lot of people asking me like, guy, is this actually 2D animation? I'm like, not really. I can't really say like. And then when I start breaking it down for them, like, okay, the characters are actually 3D, the background is 2D, and so you see them look confused, like, I don't understand. What do you mean? Is it 2D or 3D? Just tell me. And I mean, I think the idea for me was not to just I didn't want to create something that was just like generic and very, very simple, right? So I love the idea that people were able to look at it and feel like, okay, hey, this thing is new. This is something that is worth having a second look at, right? I love that element, and I think it was a success generally.
So the look of each character was based on the actual individual. That started as a base. Then I took that base and tried to bring in those old school looks. I tried to update it for right now. So those old school, very old school, like the big chains, the vibrant colors, the denim, like you mentioned, everything is like bringing all those old ideas and then updating them for now, and still finding a way to kind of push it beyond the normal, kind of make them more flamboyant. They shouldn't look like dudes that you casually see on the street. They're special, and they should be treated like special characters because they're doing something very unique and very different. But if we're using like Miami Vice, because one thing that kept bringing me back to Miami Vice was Vice City. Vice City, did you do Vice City, the GT, Vice City? The 2 main characters were based on those guys, Sonny Crockett and Ricardo Tubbs. So my Iron Fair is basically Sonny Crockett, and Mirapur is Ricardo Tubbs. Sonny Crockett is like, he was the more fiery guy. There's always those 2 combinations. There's one guy that he's
nice.
He's always exactly like he's always a bit of a hothead, and then the other one is the calmer one, and that plays out throughout the trailer. And you can see how both of them react to the policeman.
I could not afford to take anything out, but of course, as an animator, most times what we try to do is we'll try to simplify certain things, right? Because if a lot of things are moving at the same time, your attention would be divided, right? So considering the style we're going for, right, I decided to simplify the motion, right, so that the center of focus can be on the actual story and not with a lot of moving elements. Why did you not just create a regular model that I could just look for the reference online and just recreate? Why does this guy have to juxtapose two models, right? And but yeah, I would love to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So here was the thing about the car. Initially, when I was doing the script, I was thinking about how it would look, and I think you dealt with how it would look in the opening sequence where the policeman will get in the car, and I was like, it would be super awkward if he had to open the door, and Rafael will have to bend his seat. You get me? Like, so we might need the other car. We might need the 4-door Lamborghini for that one. So that's why I started with that idea. I was like, okay, let me just leave that as an option. You ultimately decide how you want to do it. You choose the angles and some other things. Maybe it'll work. And you chose an angle that actually worked. So it didn't look awkward in the end. One big thing I wanted to ask you was how you were able to handle that finishing sequence with the drift and the flip of the car. What went into that? Was it like a really difficult thing? Was it like, I just want to hear about how you did that, how you handled that.
Yeah, animation is not easy most of the time. And I mean, and the style that we ended up working with, right, required that I had to do a lot of frame by frame animation. And so for like the parts whereby, the car somersaulted, right, I had to animate that frame by frame. I had to track it to make sure that it was not jerky or it was not looking weird, right? And also, because I wanted to retain the 2D feel, I also had to recreate a lot of 2D elements, right? Like the explosion, during the car chase, right? I tried to use a 2D explosion there while creating it in a 3D space, so we could have that depth, but the explosion itself will still retain the 2D feel. So I did a lot of that, even at the beginning, whereby we had like the trailer where the car zoomed off. You would notice that like there was some smoke coming out of the exhaust.
Yes.
Right. It was also those were also like some 2D elements. So there is something beautiful about going with the flow sometimes, right? And there's something about it that brings out certain level of creativity, right? Like also what I said about embarking on several errors or challenges, and my head just thinking about, okay, hey guy, how are you going to look for a solution for this, right? I think that's what births creativity, right? Or fresh ideas. So I personally, I don't think I would change anything. As a matter of fact, I'm actually looking forward to more challenges, right? I'm looking forward to more things that would push me, to looking for more solutions. So I don't really think I would change anything. I think that's how I'll just put it.